We're here in the wilds of St. Paul, hunting Matt Kramer's nightmare. There are squirrels all over.
Okay, I'm ready. What are we talking about today?
Tom Whaley.
Tom Whaley. Tom Whaley. Our Tom Whaley?
Yeah.
Have you seen him? We haven't seen him for a year. Do you know where he's been?
He's been the board chair of the St. Paul Chamber of Commerce.
Wait a minute. Well, okay, that makes sense. Does Tom's family know where he's been? Because, like I said, we haven't seen him for a year. We assumed maybe he was at McSorley's in New York. Maybe he was in Iceland. I had heard that maybe he was in South Africa. But now it all makes sense. He's been with the chamber. Okay, all right. Remind me when we wrap this up. I need to call Kathy, let him know he's okay, or let her know that Tom's okay. And okay, whew. All right, good. We're used to Tom being gone for extended periods of time, but a year is a little ridiculous. So yeah, I'm glad to hear he's been doing something productive, good for the community, and God, hopefully he's represented the Saints well.
Tom started his first executive board meeting as the board chair with a story. He told us about, he had just been to Europe and he was on a Swiss train, and it was remarkable. He was saying how remarkable it was. Every single stop on this journey in Switzerland, the train arrived at the station exactly on time and left the station exactly on time. The train proceeded to get to Italy, and sure enough, by the very first stop in Italy, it was already 10 minutes late. And it continued to get later and later the further it went down into Italy. And Tom ended his story by saying, welcome to Italy.
Sorry, Tom, I'm going to share this. We were at a local establishment, at a bar here in St. Paul, and I have a joke where I always introduce him as Irish baseball Hall of Famer Tom Whaley. And he's by far my favorite Irish baseball Hall of Famer, and the only Irish baseball Hall of Famer that I know. But it was neat because we were able to sit down, and it was after a work function, and my ethnicity is Hmong, and we had a chance to, over some Jameson and over some beers, to kind of talk about cultural traditions and drinking traditions of Hmong folks and Irish folks. But I think beyond the copious amounts of beverages that we consumed, it was really telling of how he can identify with folks that may have very different backgrounds than his own.
Tom and I met years ago when I first started at Ecolab, and we were in a Wild Suite. Go Wild. There's your plug, Jeff. We were in a Wild Suite, and it was at the time that the Twins were looking at a new stadium, and they had entertained St. Paul and did not choose St. Paul. And I met Tom Whaley, and I said, you know what? Why are the St. Paul Saints not in downtown St. Paul? You need to bring the team downtown. We need you downtown. And it just makes more sense. And he tells that story, and he says I grabbed him by the shirt. I might have had a couple cocktails in me, I don't know. But it seemed to make sense at the time, and we've been fast and furious friends ever since.
I was with Tom and his family, and Mike Veck and Libby Veck, and Bill Murray and his kids, and some Fran Zulli and some other people that have been involved in the Saints and were investors in this team in Montana. And so Bill Murray hands the trolley driver, a camera and says, will you take a picture of all of us? So she takes a picture of all of us, and Bill jumps into the driver's seat of the trolley and takes off. And so the trolley driver is yelling at Bill, like, you can't do this, you know, we aren't insured to have you driving this. And then the person who's the head of the Butte Chamber of Commerce is screaming, you can't drive this, we don't have insurance. And Tom's like, I'm a lawyer, it's okay, I'm a lawyer. And Bill took us on a tour of Butte, Montana, and at every intersection we would stop, and he would say to people, hey, it's opening night of the Copper Kings, get on board. So by the end of the ride, we had 25 people on this trolley that probably wouldn't have gone to the game if Bill hadn't kidnapped. But I love Tom. He kept yelling out, I'm a lawyer, it's okay. I don't know. It just was a silly thing. But then Bill drove the trolley right on the field which like we wouldn't be happy if he did that at CHS Field, but it was kind of a funky collegiate field at Montana Tech, so it was okay, but it was fun. That was probably the night that Tom taught me to smoke cigars too. So
one of Tom's many roles with the Saints, it's minor league baseball, so we all wear a lot of hats. One of the hats that Tom wears is working with promoters to host concerts at our venue. And for years, that venue was Midway Stadium before moving to Lowertown at CHS Field. Had a lot of awesome concerts there, ranging from Hootie and the Blowfish to REM to Bob Dylan to Willie Nelson. Some really great shows, and we actually closed Midway Stadium with a reunion of the Replacements, which was amazing. Well over 12, 13,000 people packed the place for the final event at Midway, and this amazing reunion of a great band. The show went so well that we sold a record amount of beer, record amount of hot dogs, you name it. We went through so much concession inventory. We also went through all of our change. So we, in an effort to make sure we had enough ones to finish the show, we spent a couple hours on the road while the show was happening with our staff, visiting every possible location we could possibly find to exchange large bills for ones. Gas stations, restaurants. Tom learned through that process that or I think he might have known this already, that quite possibly the best place to find ones was at a gentleman's club. So we found ourselves assigning interns to make their way to the various gentlemen's clubs around the Twin Cities to exchange large bills for ones in an effort to make sure we could finish this concert and sell all the beer that we needed to sell to make the event a success. So I give Tom credit for his ingenuity. He may or may not have been one of the individuals that visited one or more of those establishments to make the exchange. But like I said, Tom's he's an idea guy. No matter what the problem is, he's going to work with a team to develop a solution, and that's just a great example of being creative, working with a team to come up with a solution for a problem.
Tom and I and many others were working on our plans in St. Paul for the Super Bowl in 2018, and we were congregated in a large conference room with about a dozen people, but Tom was dialing in remotely from his car. And deep into this conversation, all of a sudden over the speakerphone, we heard Tom yell, and we stopped, we all froze for 5 seconds. And I said, Tom, are you okay? And he comes back on the line and says, yeah, I'm okay. Someone just tried to run me off the road and take my new car into the middle barrier, but he was okay. After that, the rest of us in the room just started laughing, and I think we instructed Derek to show him how to use the mute button in his new car.
Do you have any advice for John Riegel's 12-year-old self?